All right, today we're diving into a story out of Japan that is genuinely chilling. It's the legend of the Okiku Doll, and it's supposedly a true story. It starts with an act of love, but it quickly spirals into a nightmare that has lasted for over a century. So, let's start with a question. Think back to when you were a kid. Did you have that one special toy? You know, a doll, a stuffed animal, something that went everywhere with you? It was your best friend, your confidant. A really sweet, innocent memory, right?
But what happens when that object of comfort turns into something else? Something terrifying. Well, back in 1918, for one family in Japan, that innocent bond became a nightmare so profound, so unbelievable, that after hearing this, you might never look at a doll the same way again.
So let's set the scene. We're going back to Japan in 1918, right after the end of the First World War. And this story doesn't begin with horror. It starts with love, between a brother and his little sister.
At the heart of this story is the Suzuki family. Now, they didn't have a lot of money. The father was a laborer, the mother a seamstress, but they were a really loving family. And their little girl, Kikuko, was about to turn 4. All she wanted for her birthday was a doll. Her parents just couldn't afford it, but her 17-year-old brother, Ikichi, was determined to make it happen. He spent an entire month working odd jobs, saving up every single penny he could.
So Ekichi is looking for the perfect doll, and he spots this one in a shop window. It was different, dressed in this traditional red kimono. And the story goes, it had this strange, peaceful look on its face. But its eyes, they felt deep, like they were watching everything. He felt a little uneasy, but he just knew this was the one for his sister.
You can just imagine, right? On her birthday, Kikuko was absolutely thrilled. She named the doll Okiku, and from that moment on, they were inseparable. She took Okiku everywhere, talked to it, slept with it every night. It was the picture of pure, simple happiness.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, this perfect picture of happiness just wasn't meant to last. The story is about to take a very dark, very sudden turn. It happened so fast. Kikuko got sick, a really, really bad case of malaria. And through it all, as she was fighting for her life, she held on to that Okiku doll, clutched it to her chest, right up until her very last breath. At just 4 years old, she was gone.
In the middle of all this grief, the family wanted to do the traditional thing, cremate her most prized possession with her body, which, of course, was the Okiku doll. But for some reason, the temple wouldn't allow it. So instead, they placed the doll on a shelf in their home as a memorial. And they had no idea they had just set the stage for, well, for decades of pure horror.
Okay, so this is where things get really weird. The family's grief starts to get replaced by confusion, and then just sheer terror, as things that just shouldn't be possible started happening.
It started small. Just sounds. Late at night, Eikichi swore he could hear what sounded like his sister's voice, whispering, sometimes even laughing softly down the hall. Soon his parents heard it too. They'd get up, check the house, but of course, no one was there. It was strange, unsettling. And then, Eikichi noticed something about the doll, something that made his blood run cold. Its hair, it was longer. It used to be cut neatly to its neck, but now it was down to its shoulders. And it wasn't just longer, the texture was different. It didn't look synthetic anymore. It looked human. It had a brownish tint to it. It even had split ends. So, freaking out, he tells his parents. And his mom, probably just trying to feel like she had some control, she decides to cut the doll's hair back to how it was. And according to the legend, that was the biggest mistake they could have possibly made. It's like they made it angry. And what happened next wasn't just some spooky occurrence. This was the start of a living hell that the Suzuki family would endure for 2 very, very long decades. 20 years. I mean, just stop and think about that. Not a few weeks, not a couple of months, 20 years of being tormented by this thing in your own home. Can you even imagine the psychological toll that would take? Things got so much worse. The whole family started having these awful nightmares about the doll trying to hurt them. Akichi swore he saw it blink and even turn its head. They'd see this little shadowy figure of a girl darting around the house. And the worst part? The mom woke up one night screaming because the doll was sitting on her chest, just staring down at her.
They just couldn't take it anymore. The father grabs the doll, takes it out to a field, and buries it. They thought, finally, it's over. But that night, bam! a violent banging on the door, and the sound of a child screaming outside. He opens the door, and there it is, the doll. And its hair, it just starts growing, super fast, wrapping around his neck, strangling him. It only stopped when Aikichi, totally panicked, just screamed his sister's name, Kikuko. And just like that, the attack stopped. The doll went limp.
So after 2 decades of this absolute terror, the family knew they couldn't win. They had to leave their home, but they were too scared to try and destroy the doll again. So they decided to get help, which leads us to where the doll is today. So in 1938, they take the doll to the Mananji Buddhist temple. They tell the monks the whole crazy story. And the monks, they accept it. They tried to cleanse it, to do whatever they could, but nothing worked. And that's where it's been ever since. For over 80 years now, it's been sitting in that temple.
And get this, the weird stuff hasn't stopped. The doll is actually on display, but you are absolutely forbidden from taking pictures of it. People who visit say that if you stare at it for too long, you'll be plagued by horrible nightmares. And the most chilling part? The monks at the temple, they still have to periodically trim the Okiku doll's hair, because to this day, it just keeps growing.
Now you'd think, okay, a haunted doll with ever-growing human hair, that's gotta be the end of the story, right? But no. Recently, people who watch the doll have noticed something new. Something much, much worse.
Yeah. Observers at the temple have reported that the doll's mouth, which was always closed tight, is now slowly beginning to open. And when they look inside, they can see what appear to be small, human-like teeth starting to grow.
Which leaves us with one last, really unsettling question. Is this thing truly haunted by the restless spirit of a little girl who's just attached to her favorite toy? Or, with teeth now growing inside it, has something else, something much older and far more sinister, been hiding inside that doll the whole time? What do you think?